Hello everyone, it's Tankmas. So first off, I need to say big thanks to everyone who watched my last RANT vid and left criticism there. I really try to improve the audio quality in the following vids, so it will definitely be more enjoyable for you guys. Also, the RANT is for now my most viewed vid, so I think it is definitely encouraging me to continue this type of content. But enough with the intro, and let's get right into today's topic. So, for those of you who don't know what these words are, here's a quick explanation. In GD, like in many other games featuring levels, we tend as a community to rank them in order of difficulty. Underrating a level is thinking or saying it is easier than it actually is, and overrating is the exact opposite. That means it's thinking or saying it is harder than it actually is. Those concepts are fairly common because of the fact that ranking levels is opinion based, and you might think a level is harder because of personal bias or because of your experience with it. For example, a really good wave player could underrate a level such as Sonic Wave, and saying Yatagarasu is harder because they had less of a hassle with the first one. The underrating/overrating situation developed in GD because the game at its core makes it easier for errors of judgment. In its base, GD is a skill game, which is mainly die and retry, and while most of the time you die because of your own mistakes, the game is quite punishing if you make those. Because of that, some of the A-list demons are almost unassailable for the average GD player, either because his skill set is too low or he doesn't have enough patience. To that, we must add the fact that GD is a community-driven game, which means big players' opinions will have a big impact over the GD mob mentality. And of course, with each player comes different biases and different opinions. We saw that with the Bloodlust drama. I won't cover that because I'm not taking any sides for now, but it's a perfect example of how the community can be influenced by big players' opinions. Also, we must add that the amount of hype for a level can influence how the community perceives it and mostly how the difficulty is perceived in terms of extreme demons. So, to sum up, the fact that only some people can complete the hardest levels of GD and the fact that everyone has his own biases combined with the hype culture, I'll talk more about that later, created the situation we are in right now. Note that the GD demon list is indeed made thanks to the opinions of big players, but that doesn't mean it's 100% accurate as any list of this sort would be. Now that we see how this phenomenon started, let's see how we can prevent this and see what are the causes to how a level is being underrated or overrated. So, the hype culture has been around for a really long time in Geometry Dash, and it's been a big part of the community. Ever since the first big projects have been made, actually, it was there. First off, I need to say one thing. Hyping up a level is totally fine, it makes the creators feel proud of what they made. No. What is really dangerous is putting levels on a pedestal, either for their difficulty or their deco. To take some examples, here are what happened with every of the most hyped level that were extreme demons. So first off, Bloodbath. You may think, what? Bloodbath was fine, it didn't backfire, it didn't add bad consequences. Well, for the level, no, but it was bad for other things. So, as many of you might know, Bloodbath remained unbeaten for a really long time. So long that it was judged to be the ultimate demon that no one will ever top. But it had two bad consequences. So, after BB was beaten, people started creating the new wave of demons, but they aim way too high, and most of the projects that started at this period are either dead, like the original Fusion Z, Low Death, and the original Yatta, were heavily nerfed, like Yatagarasu or Blade of Justice, or are being verified but aren't verified yet, like Delta Interface, Sonic Wave Infinity, and etc. And secondly, it led to some levels being underrated at the time, like Sakopan Hell and Phobos, that were actually placed below Bloodbath when they came out. Yatagarasu. So expectations for this level were way too high at the time. The unnerfed version unveiled by Riot was near impossible, and when the necessary nerfs were made, it almost ruined the level reputation as well as Trusta's career. Some people to this day still haven't forgiven Trusta for his nerf, which is pretty autistic behavior if you ask me, but Yatagarasu is the prime example of why standards at the time were way too high for what our player base could do. Now on to the third and biggest case of hype culture running level. So, Blade of Justice. Blade of Justice was created by Manix and was supposed to be harder by far than anything created at the time. So it basically ended up being the same case as Yatagarasu but 10 times worse. It was heavily nerfed, which is understandable given the first version was humanly impossible, and what it ended up doing is it ruined Rico Alpi's career, it made Dual Kiki quit, and it was almost forgotten just a month after it came out, mainly because it was beaten way too quickly by some people. For example, Wushi, who beat it under 3 hours, and people started realizing that this level wasn't what they expected and they just didn't care anymore. So this level is, to this day, I think, the biggest example of how we shouldn't treat a level and how hype culture combined with way too high expectations ruined otherwise good level. Fourth and last example of how hype culture can change the way we see a level. Even though when it came out it didn't divide the community as much as I thought it would, it recently started escalating way worse than anyone could have expected, and basically now the community is split in two sides, one thinking it should be first and one saying it should be Plasma Pulse Finale that should be first. It has sparked horrible drama with actual false drug usage accusations that is incredibly stupid to say that in a $2 game, and I know that To some people GD is way more than that, but come on, drug accusations? Even if it was like a national sport, it's extremely rude to accuse someone of using drugs, so you shouldn't do that. Now, do you see what I meant by putting the level on a pedestal is a bad thing? We should, for the sake of the level and the community, be more grounded about what difficulty we can and can't handle for now, and that the developers/creators know more than most of us what they think is the best for a level. At a big scale, overhyping can ruin careers or straight up stop them. Now, as you can see by what I said, hype culture is mostly responsible for overrating a level, most of the time before it comes out. But how does a level become underrated? Well, let's see what is the cause of that. Now, the underrating is a way more vicious problem than overrating. Underrating comes most of the time from a level being overrated in the first place. For me, there are three major causes to the underratement of a level. First, what I call the legendary demon effect. This is when a popular level comes out and everyone thinks it won't be topped for a really long time. So what happens is that when actual harder levels comes out, people will underrate them and will still place them behind the big level because of the bias most of the community have towards the big projects. This happened, for example, like I said earlier, with Bloodbath and Second Pen Hell and Phobos that were actually placed under Bloodbath when they came out. Nowadays, Bloodbath sits at place 34, while Phobos is at 28th and Second Pen Hell is even at 21st. This could be described as phase 1 of the effects. The second phase concerns the actual overrated level. Most of the time, the so-called legendary demon start being beaten more and more, and levels start coming on top of it more and more. And at one point, people will start thinking it was overrated in the first place, which it kinda was, and will actually place it lower than it should have been. The phase doesn't actually happen for all the big extreme demons, but sometimes, like with Yatagarasu, it does happen. Sometimes we can also see a third phase to this effect, and that's when things start to balance themselves out, with people finally grasping the true difficulty of each level. For example, people start saying Yata is underrated, which might conclude in a real evaluation of its position. So ever since Yatagarasu, nerfing has been a big source of debate, whereas before it wasn't even noticed. For example, only few people know that Bloodbath's 96% was nerfed after Riot died there, and Crazy Man was actually praised for having verified the nerfed version of Phobos. But again, Yatagarasu was held as so much of an unassailable, unbeatable demon that, seeing it was only a fraction of what it once was, people really thought they were let down by Drosta, and after that, nerfing took a real bad connotation it shouldn't have had in the first place. Nowadays, people start assuming nerfs are bigger than they actually are, when nerfs are being made, and people are made actually fun of when they nerf the levels. Now onto the third and most recent of these three problems. It's the time it takes to beat the actual level. So at the end of 1.9 and all the way up to when BB was beaten for the first time, we always witnessed very few incredible players like we see nowadays, and because of that, the new Extreme Demons took a lot of time to find their first victors. But in the state the community is in right now, we have a ton of really good players, meaning the big demons take less than and less of time to be beaten. I mean, we have actually in legendary players, we have Sonic, Skullo, Rampage, Bolster, Noble Boy, Unlevel, Trusta and many more. Whereas before we had Riot, Cyclic and Andromeda. And by the way, two of them hacked, so I don't know if this can be counted, but anyways. Because of that, even the hardest demons take less than a month to be beaten. The problem is that the community was conditioned to see a big period of time before new extremes were beaten. Now the time spent waiting for the first victor is really short. 2 weeks for Bloodlust, 1 week for Yatagarasu, and even 2 hours for Blade of Justice, which is still a top 50 demon. The problem is that the mentality of the community hasn't changed, and they are more likely to think that they overestimated the level difficulty than to think that's because the players are getting better. I think it's even safe to say, unless we have a major drop in the community player base, we will never see a level like Bloodbath again that can remain unbeaten for so long. With that in mind, we need to stop thinking that this or this demon will remain victorless for so long and just appreciate what the level is. The big problem with underrating or overrating the level is that for the community, the people who can complete the hardest tier of levels are very few in comparison to the player base, and thus only their opinions matter, which makes decision making really more narrowed. So the underrating or overrating of a level can both be harmful to the level and the player. To prevent that from happening, we need to be more grounded and not to put some levels on a pedestal, because it's the best way to have it not catch up our expectations. It's really dangerous if that type of behavior spreads, because it can easily create drama or break careers because of a misunderstanding over what the level was meant to be and how we perceived it. I hope I have clarified the situation for you guys. If you found it helpful, please subscribe and like, and share this vid to other people that might be interested by that topic. Please try to leave only constructive criticism and your opinions on the situation in the comments. I'll reply to all of them if I can. There's a poll in the description to vote what will my next RANT subjects be, so please go check it out. I hope you liked this video. I improvised some of the things in it, so sorry if I stutter. Anyway, those were my 2 cents on the topic, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!